This week on Aliens Explored, we will be reviewing Project Aquarius by Eddie Page, a supposedly above top secret report into the CIA's efforts to create a Starseed human ET hybrid. Claiming to be one of these hybrids himself, Page takes us on a whistle-stop tour of all your favourite conspiracy theory talking points, from mankind's origins all the way through to the end of days, by way of Roswell, the Kennedy assassination, Saddam's missing WMD, and many others. This episode of Aliens Explored is dedicated to our Explorer of the Week, TOBY FOMES. Be like Toby by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Aliens Explored to find a tier that's right for you.
Aliens Explored is a weekly podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions and other strange events from both a believing and a skeptical perspective, whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it?
Welcome back, listeners, to Aliens Explored, your weekly podcast for things extraterrestrial, the people around them, the UFOs, the UAPs, the flying saucers, the weird and the wonderful. I'm Stu Jackson, one of your weird and wonderful hosts.
And I'm Neil Kelly, your other host. His mate.
How are you doing, Neil?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've been keeping busy with lots of filming lately.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Filming commercially. I mean, doing film projects that you're getting paid for, that sort of thing.
Professionally, absolutely.
That's the best way, isn't it?
How's your blood sugar?
That was a warning that it's low. It's kind of bumpy along the bottom. What happened was my blood sugar was really high, so I took a load of insulin and it's plummeted. But I've just eaten something, so it should start going upwards again.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. Keep an eye on that, because if we need to suspend the recording, we can do that. No, I've been, filming commercially, professionally.
Any good money projects?
Not good money, I wouldn't say, but some really interesting ones. I did an East London gangster last week, so I had to do a gravelly sort of voice with an accent.
You hold him and I'll cosh him.
Shadow, you slag. That kind of thing. And also, on top of that, they had me smoking as well, because the character smoked. Now, obviously, it was nicotine-free. It was herbal cigarettes. Not that kind of herbal. But, yeah, it was herbal. Because it's been 8 years since I was a smoker.
Wow.
And that was the first time.
I mean, we both know that smoking is a very difficult thing to film for continuity.
Yes.
I think we've all seen low-budget movies where someone's cigarette seems to be sort of shrinking a bit, and then it grows a bit, and then it shrinks a bit. It's a different length every shot.
Yeah.
So
but that's what they wanted me to do, and it ended up absolutely destroying my voice. I was Yeah.
Do you say on your profile that you're willing to smoke? Is that kind of
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I've got, like most of us actors, I've got multiple profiles out there. If there's an option to say, you're willing to smoke, then yes, I mean, I am.
I'm not sure what mine says about that, whether I'll smoke or not.
Yeah.
Because if you're not used to smoking, smoking will make you sick as well.
But that's the thing. It really did. It affected my voice quite badly, and
but no, actually make you throw up.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't.
Okay.
I think the nicotine-free ones are pretty okay like that. But yeah, no, I was on a date like not the day after we finished filming. I was on a date that evening, and she was commenting on how sexy my voice was. Don't get used to it. It's because my throat is sore. Anyway, enough of that. I did want to ask you, I know you're still working very, very hard with your Mr. Monopoly, but are you getting a chance to do sort of filming projects outside of that?
No, I get almost no chance to do anything outside of it. They are... the workload might ease up. We've got more... Apparently, they're recruiting a new Mr. Monopoly, and we've got a couple of guys who are not on contract, just freelancers, who do Mr. Monopoly. So there's two of us on contract and two freelancers with possibly another one floating around. But we've heard talk of auditions to get more Mr. Monopolies. We've also heard talk... everything works by rumour in this place. That there are 4 Monopoly boards. One of them doesn't use a Mr. Monopoly. It's far more automated, and it only has 2 tokens instead of 4 people hosting. Instead of 1 person per team, it's just got, i.e., 4 tokens. People. When I say tokens, I mean someone playing the part of a battleship or a racing car or a boot. That's a token.
Yes.
So normally 3 games, you would have a Mr. Monopoly doing the introduction and the finale, and you would have 4 of these people acting as tokens, taking their team around the board. On the Own It All model, on the 4th board, you don't have that. You have no Mr. Monopoly, and you only have 2 tokens. So I'm taking a really long time to explain something that's quite simple. But the rumour is that one of the boards is going to close down in a few weeks' time to be remodelled on that no Mr. Monopoly model. So we'll see. We might find we have... What I'm getting at in my rambling way is that we might get to a stage where we have less work and more people doing it. So It could very well be that I will be freed up more, or at least it'll be easier to take time off, or I might suddenly find that my 6-day week, or unless I ask for a day off, has gone down to a 4 or 3-day week. Don't know. Just have to see.
Oh, well. Make hay while the sun shines, I think, is there.
Yeah, and who knows, something else might come up.
Oh, we're actors, something else always comes up. We're used to that now. Anyway, speaking of things coming up, I heard quite recently about this this Project Aquarius. I'll be honest, I hadn't been privy to it until very, very recently. This is a chap called Eddie Page, who claims that Project Aquarius is effectively a project within the CIA that involves getting aliens to impregnate people so they have sort of hybrid child Starseeds, a Starseed program.
Now, the CIA do tend to be a bit closed mouth about that kind of thing, don't they?
They, understandably so. This specifically is apparently to do with the Pleiadians, that pronunciation correctly. And Eddie himself claims to have been fathered by an extraterrestrial, which is how he indeed he gets into this program. So, I mean, first question, as I often put to you, Neil, even though I'd not heard of this one myself until recently. Had you heard of this particular program before?
I don't know if I'd heard about the CIA involvement. I certainly heard about these Starseeds, or was it indigo children, hybrids of humans and some sort of extraterrestrial. I mean, it also goes back to where do we come from as Homo sapiens? That we know in our own history. Certainly we have evolved from, well, maybe not all our listeners will be on board with this certainly. We've evolved from, well, apes, or actually we've evolved from fish to some sort of land creature, become an ape, and then become Homo erectus, the Neanderthal man who was quite a successful creature, lived on the earth for about 1 million years, was at harmony with his environment. He wasn't top of the food chain, but then suddenly evolved into Homo sapiens. And how did this happen? Was this, it can be speculated, was there some kind of external intervention that turned, did Homo sapiens just suddenly appear, or did Neanderthals suddenly start giving birth to these other creatures, us, who were, with our larger brains, or our better ability to use them, whether they were physically larger or not, were actually able to take over, wipe out the Neanderthals, and wipe out lots of other things as well, and put ourselves most of the time at the top of the food chain. I mean, when you're swimming in a crocodile-infested river, you're not top of the food chain there. But in that particular instance, but generally, globally, we are top of the food chain. So is that where we've come from as is this version of humanity? Is that where we've, sometime, however many tens of thousands of years ago, was there some kind of intervention that prompted that mutation?
Well, absolutely, and it's worth mentioning as well the whole missing link part of that. So, going from Neanderthal to Homo sapiens or Homo erectus, there's a distinct gap in that field. So, you've got Neanderthal man, then seemingly the next day they're giving birth to. It doesn't. Evolution doesn't work that way. There would be a progression, and there is this gap, the missing link, as it's generally called. Does suggest something radical happened, and a lot of people have indeed theorized that it was extraterrestrial involvement playing about with our genome.
Now, this is something I'm just realizing from, I'm not talking about mixing genes, I'm talking about mixing drinks. But this is where this idea would come from. Presumably, say if you took a human being and some kind of monkey, and you were able to create a hybrid, you could breed them. What you would create would be something probably not as intelligent as the human, but more intelligent than the monkey. You'd have this hybrid. So if these superior aliens arrived from space and created some sort of hybrid of them and Homo erectus, that it would have come up with something that's not as intelligent as them, but more intelligent than Homo erectus, intelligent enough to take over. You would then wonder, well, why don't we go back again and create another hybrid of this new human, this of Homo sapien, and this extraterrestrial intelligence, to create a new breed of human that's somewhere in between where we are now and between these and these extraterrestrial intelligences.
Well, that's assuming that these extraterrestrials are more intelligent than us. And don't forget, there's a difference between intelligence and knowledge, and certainly between intelligence and technology.
You could say that although we are a highly advanced society compared to, say, hunter-gatherers in some remote jungle, We do have people in our society who are as thick as shit, who don't know anything about how they don't know. Yeah, they might be surrounded by all this technology, but they don't understand any of it any more than some hunter-gatherer might understand it, or someone from a more primitive society could be more intelligent. They could be better read. They could have a better understanding of the world, and certainly a better understanding of their environment. Hunter-gatherers know how to do everything. They know how to hunt. They know how to build shelters. Yeah. They know how to build fires. They know how to raise children. They know how to do everything that needs to be done. But we've got people who don't know how to do anything. I'm probably one of them.
But instantly you're saying, like, better read, understanding this better, that better. That's knowledge. And yeah, I'm totally on board with what you're saying. But it's really easy, and it kind of demonstrates how easy it is to fall into that trap of confusing intelligence and knowledge. They are completely separate things. So just because, and I would say this to anyone out there, just because somebody is not well read, doesn't have many qualifications, or anything like that, does not mean they're not intelligent. Intelligence is a different thing. Anyway, but yeah, absolutely. And this is a lot of people have theorized that the Anunnaki came and sort of interfered with humans. Basically, they wanted to create a race that would kind of a slave labor race that would be capable of functioning properly on their own planet. And that's why they played about with our genome. Like you rightly say, we wiped out Neanderthal just merely by our existence.
So we would have to assume if someone did that again, someone came from some other dimension or planet to breed with us and create a more superior being, a more, in whatever way, superior.
More evolved.
We got it. More evolved being. You've got to expect that the lesser evolved beings will be wiped out, just like the Neanderthals were by the last sudden change, the sudden evolutionary change. But we know that in our own society, you can see that there are people who, maybe it's just used as an insult, but I certainly see people who are less evolved than us. People who are still bowing and scraping to kings and queens and princesses. They're behaving like it's 1,000 years ago, like they're in a medieval fairy tale or something. Soldiers who go to war, they might be going to a modern war, but they're not much more evolved than soldiers who are at the Battle of Hastings or Marathon. They're still going to do the same thing. Maybe the weapons at their disposal are a bit more advanced, but actually what they're doing isn't more evolved than that.
No, again, that's technology rather than than anything else. Yeah, absolutely. It's. I think there's a danger between someone having a different philosophy, and as much as you and I, our philosophies align on such things as monarchies, and anyone who claims simply that they're better than other people simply by an accident of birth, or because their invisible friend tells them that they are. But that's a philosophy, and I think a different philosophy. Let's be careful not to suggest that makes them less evolved. But yeah, I know we like to think that, but that's a different.
It has been. I saw an interview with Noam Chomsky, where he said that actually the fact that we are still here now is a miracle. We have come within minutes of nuclear annihilation several times in the last half century or so. And that, we're not gonna survive this unless we evolve beyond this. We become these sort of primitive but warlike apes.
Yeah.
Unless we can evolve beyond that need to form tribes and be hostile towards other tribes, we're not getting out of this. A nuclear war is kind of inevitable,
unless there's
a very, very
external
destructive war.
Intervention.
Unless we can change the way we inhabit the planet, I know a lot of our listeners are going to disagree with this. We've probably got listeners who don't think that climate change is a real thing. But if you accept that it is, then that's going to lead to massive, something like, humanity's never seen before. Whole areas of the planet are going to become uninhabitable. People are going to be on the move en masse, and that's going to cause wars. And that's going to cause very, very destructive, as well as the climate damage to the planet. There will be the human knock-on effect. And we're heading for a complete catastrophe if we don't do something right now. And that involves evolving into something else. But let's look at what Eddie Page is about. This is his book, The True Story of the Extraterrestrial Starseed Unit Inside the CIA, by Eddie Page. Above Top Secret, revelations about the creation of planet Earth, mankind's origins, the Bible, the Roswell incident, the Kennedy assassination, alien visitations and abductions, the Vatican, Saddam Hussein's missing WMDs, the imminent race war in America and World War III, NASA, Mars, Nibiru, corrupt US presidents, and the end of days. I think we're getting into QAnon territory here, aren't we, in this guy?
Very much so. In fact, in his book, he describes the Clintons as evil incarnate. I mean, it is definitely down the whole, the Clintons drink the blood of children. It's that level bollocks, basically. It's... I mean, I have to say, I find his claims difficult to swallow. Partly, so he claims initially, so his own birth was some strange sort of miracle, and in fact, he does liken himself to Jesus Christ in many ways. Sometimes directly. He claims his mother, who was a waitress, basically passed out on a park bench, had a dream where she was surrounded by a glowing blue light, was visited by an alien who told her, everything's going to be fine and we're going to put a baby in you and he's going to be the next sort of savior. And then when she awoke, she was pregnant and she had him 5 months later.
Right. So she was very pregnant.
So, I mean, I'm struggling a little bit with that one. He claims that because of his supernatural origin, he's been sort of let into the inner circle of things that, the time he met President Reagan and all this, and been privy to this CIA's Starseed program, Project Aquarius, where they're getting Pleiadians to impregnate women and, fathering these new hybrids who are going to be the next level of human race.
So these above top secret revelations. He's just written a book. He said, well, I'm just going to write a book and blab about it. You're okay with that? I don't think. I mean, I don't think the CIA would let him talk if this really was a serious thing. If this stuff, it is down the rabbit hole and everything's connected and it's all. Oh yeah, that makes sense now. And that's the thing. It's you're into that territory of secret, deep state governments, blood sucking, Satan worshipping paedophiles, communist conspiracy. That's a funny one. I find that people who are being completely fucked over by the current system, which is obviously by corporations and capitalism. They say, "Oh no, it's not that. It's a communist plot to make us think that capitalism is bad." Really? Yeah, you can't just see the way things are and think, this is bad. You've got to find some. You don't want to. You're so attached to that belief that you need to invent some some fairy story behind it as to why it's actually making your life a misery. We're getting a bit political here.
Well, we have the same thing in this country over Brexit, because, I mean, and you must have encountered this as well, when you point out how Brexit is like basically turning a lot of aspects of the country to shit. And you'll get the Brexiteers saying, well, that's because of the Remain people. Hang on. A, they're not in power. B, well, no, it's happened anyway, because if believe me, if Remainers had any control, we'd still be in the EU.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, they've never explained. They said, okay, we're going to leave the EU, we're going to put up trade barriers, and that will improve trade. They never explained how that would work. But the fact that it's not working is somehow the fault of Remainers who have sabotaged the project. Yeah. And what we've got now, we're in this state where we have a government that sees everything through the lens of Brexit. Everything is to do with Brexit. They're obsessed with it. And we heard recent claims, on behalf of Boris Johnson and by Boris Johnson, that we were only able to roll out the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, because we were out of the EU. Well, there's three things wrong with that. First, it's bollocks. Actually, at the time, we were still in the EU under EU rules, and everything we did was allowable within that regulatory framework. The second thing that's wrong with it is we might have got off the starting blocks faster, but we didn't have the fastest rollout. Britain was quickly overtaken by other countries that have better health services, and we had probably the worst death rate in the developed world, including the USA. And the third thing that's wrong with it is that the people that they're trying to impress with that includes all the anti-vax community.
Yeah.
If you draw it as a Venn diagram, you've got people who think Brexit is a good idea, and you've got people who think the COVID vaccines are poison. It's all a conspiracy. They're entirely within that group of Brexiters. And here, I'll make a prediction now. This is, again, to do with Brexit. A prediction. Rishi Sunak has said one of his 5 things he's going to do is get inflation down. Inflation is currently raging at 10%. Mm-hmm. Now, most mainstream economists say that this is just a spike, that regardless of anything that Rishi Sunak's government does or doesn't do, that inflation is probably going to come down to about 5%.
Yeah.
I'll tell you 3 things. I'll make 3 predictions. The first one is that when it does come down, Rishi Sunak will claim that it was his policies that brought it about, and probably mention, I stood up to the greedy trade union barons will probably be a big part of it. Might not, but definitely he will claim that it was down to his policies. The second thing he will claim will be that those policies were only possible because we're no longer in the EU, that Brexit enabled us to get inflation down. And the third thing I'll predict is that all the mugs who read the Daily Telegraph, the Daily Mail, the Daily Express, the Sun will believe him. Rant over.
Yeah.
We were talking about Starseed children.
And as our listeners switch off in droves.
Yeah.
No. Other political opinions are available. just perhaps not on this podcast. But yeah. So this Eddie Page, he does seem to be a bit of an extreme right wing nut job.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate description. I think. I mean, many of our listeners may believe that all these things are connected and may want to read his book.
Yeah,
or several books, I think.
When you read, well, it's only the one that I'm aware of. When you read the reviews, it's interesting. A lot of people are, oh yes, this guy tells the absolute truth, and it's like, and you just know that all the reviews have been written by bots. It's absolutely obvious. But yeah. Anyway, so let's take Eddie Page out of the equation and let's ask a very, very simple question as we come to the close of today's episode. A Starseed program being operated by the CIA. How possible do you think that is?
I'd have to ask a geneticist. I don't know about when it comes to creating hybrid beings from breeding two different types of creature. I don't know if you can. I don't know if it is possible, for instance, to combine a human with a chimpanzee. I don't think that is well. Ethically, it wouldn't be. They wouldn't want to be doing it, but
outside of a laboratory, no, you can't. I mean, there's a whole Dr. Moreau thing about but he was more about turning the animals into something akin to humans, wasn't he?
Oh, all right, but I mean, stories from racist apartheid South Africa. They used to accuse the black people of being inferior beings, and accuse them of shagging monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did any of those, human simian interactions ever produce any offspring? Well, no.
Like,
but what was the fact that they were having sex with animals? Was that true? People? I mean, we know people do have sex with animals, but it never produces offspring. Does it?
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. You don't get any chimeras from that at all, or anything like that. And interesting. So obviously, I'm a big sci-fi person. I watch a lot of Star Trek, and in there you'll get a Klingon and a human, or have a half Klingon child. And I remember hearing or reading a scientist talk about this, and said if you've got two beings from different planets. We'd have more chance on this planet of a human mating with a daffodil than we have of a human mating with a being from another planet. Because at least with the daffodil, we're biologically we have some connection, being from the same planet.
Yeah.
So that kind of puts it in perspective for me.
I suppose with different kinds of dogs, for instance, if you're breeding different kinds of dogs, you can. I mean, people try and keep their dogs purebred, don't they? They're the more valuable ones. But if you mate a Labrador with a poodle, I guess essentially they're so similar. Yeah, you get a Labradoodle, but they're such similar animals. Similarly,
they're still canines, but you wouldn't get a cat and a dog.
No, or a horse and a donkey to produce a mule, but a mule itself can't reproduce because it has the wrong number of chromosomes or whatever.
They're born sterile, aren't they?
They're born sterile. Yeah,
yeah.
It's impossible for them to reproduce themselves.
And that's an incredibly similar animal. I'm taking it with a huge pinch of salt. I mean, that's not to say that an incredibly technologically advanced species wouldn't be capable. Have they played around with our genetics in the past? I think this is a more likely thing. I think in the past, yes, our genetics have been played about with, have been manipulated, but actually breeding with humans to make sort of hybrid, I don't know, that sort of, it smacks of me. I remember the incredibly powerful sort of racism that went on about, all these black men coming over here and, mating with our white women, it smacks of that sort of thinking. Like, look how terrible the world will be if this is allowed to happen.
And of course, if people are too closely related genetically, that doesn't work well either.
Well, look at the royal family. We're straight back to them again.
Inbred, but or areas. There are places where they're quite isolated and the population is quite small, and you can see the effect of it. You can see that you can tell someone's from a very small gene pool. Whereas if you were to have a child with someone who was from the other side of the world, from Africa, from South America or whatever, that would be a more resilient child. It would, the further apart the two parents are in terms of their genes, then that apparently that works best.
The metaphorical melting pot is a good idea genetically, absolutely.
Yeah. But interspecies hasn't really been made to work yet.
Not so far that we're aware of. What do you think, listeners? Are Eddie's claims of this Starseed program, Project Aquarius, is there some truth to it? Or is it just the fictional rantings of... No, I'll just leave that hanging. We don't want to get sued.
Yeah.
Do let us know what you think. That you can contact us, of course, via the usual means, through Facebook, through Twitter. You can put a comment on one of our YouTube videos, and do go to our YouTube channel and give us a quick like and subscribe, please. That'll really help us out because we're trying to grow that channel at the moment. And of course, you can email us, aliensexplored@gmail.com. And even if you are one of our Patreon members, you get exclusive access to our Discord server. So go to patreon.com/aliensexplored and have a look there as well. See if there's anything that you fancy for yourselves and help support us in making these videos. Join us next time, though, when we'll be going not too far from here, Neil. We're going up the road into Wales. And we will be looking at a near miss, only back in 2008, between a police helicopter and a UFO.
Okay.
So you don't want to miss that one. In the meantime, keep watching out for these interesting claims. And of course, keep watching the skies. Take care for now.
Catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Aliens Explored is a Figo Films production in association with Juicy Falls. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter and Facebook by searching Aliens Explored or visit aliensexplored.com.